Now, when we look at the S&P 500 specifically on the day in the stock market in general, you can see we had a really nice gap up, a lot of buyers stepping in aggressively that first hour and a half of trading. We look at QQQ, the Nasdaq, and I believe this is what really got all the love as we broke into new local highs, breaking above October 14th highs as well into that 500 region and then rejecting pretty hard off of that level, right? You saw semiconductors, NVDA specifically. You saw XLK, tech-heavy names, Apple, these other big tech names getting involved here. But again, coming into massive resistances that we keep having marked, 232.6 on XLK, SMH 256, right into resistance, and then you're rejecting off of those. And that's what we really, that's the story of today. Now, the other part of this as well is that you're seeing Dow, DIA, get the blunt end of the stick here, right? This is the bad end, right? This is the bad side, right? You're seeing the downside nonstop on Dow. There's been no let up. You saw initial gap up and then immediate selling. And this has really been going on all week, right? And if you look, Dow has been what's really been carrying the S&P 500 to these highs over the past 2 weeks, in my opinion. The Nasdaq has not been, right? So even now when the Nasdaq's moving better, SPY's not making new highs. You're still ranging, don't get me wrong. Like, you still look fine. Like, if I get rid of these levels and we just look at this, you're still operating in a clear range at all-time highs. So I wouldn't argue that you're bearish. I would just say that you're not getting that continuation that you need because there's a lot of areas in the market that are cooling off right now. Now, the other thing going into this week you need to be very aware of is going to be earnings, okay? And I'm very adamant about what's happening here on earnings and what you need to be watching. I am telling you right now, and I'm no affiliation with these guys, but if you're interested in earnings, earningwhispers.com is the best place to go. But again, you look at earnings and what's happening here. If you ask me about any very important stock, the Mag 7, they're basically right here with the exception of Netflix, maybe NVIDIA, and Tesla. Everything else, Apple, Amazon, Google, AMD, Microsoft, Meta, Coinbase, Robinhood. I mean, you can go down the laundry list of names. They're all here. This week will be your biggest week of earnings, hands down. We'll have NVIDIA down the line and some of the others, but this is what's really important as of right now, what you need to be paying close attention to, because basically every day is going to be like a playoff game, right? AMD, Google, Snapchat, Tuesday. Wednesday, Microsoft, Meta, Coinbase, massive. Thursday, Amazon, Apple, Intel, massive. So those are going to be very big and have pretty big implications of what's going to happen going forward with semiconductors and tech-heavy names specifically. But one thing that I will say that's very interesting about this earnings that's coming up here now is you've moved like this in the S&P, in my opinion, without a lot of tech-heavy names up into this week, okay? And what do I mean by that? If I go down a laundry list of these names that are having earnings, Meta was moving good for, Meta was actually one of the best movers, don't get me wrong, right? But you're still, you're kind of consolidating. Let's just get rid of everything. Let's just get rid of all the indicators so it's just nice and clean here. You could argue Meta's just bull flagging here, consolidating since October 7th, right? Apple, you've gotten some failed breakouts of all-time highs, but you still look solid up here near highs. Right, you still look very good, just trending at all-time highs. You haven't broken out. You haven't done anything crazy, right? You basically been in the same range since mid-September, even with bad news. Microsoft really pulling back, right? Microsoft's just chilling at the 200 SMA. It's begging to break out. Microsoft this week was one of your biggest things you have to be watching right now because above 432, in my opinion, you're explosive into 140, back into 148, back into all-time highs. So again, these names, the more you look at these, the more you're like, man, they have some big potential for going up. AMD, NVIDIA is at all-time highs, but AMD, you have plenty of room to run. You could easily start breaking out of this with good earnings. And that's the story right now of what you need to be paying attention to is when I go through the long list of names, is these names haven't ran, right? They haven't really started going yet. Amazon, right? We've been talking about this right here. You're sitting in your little pennant here, ready to break out, just waiting at your key level of 188.7, just ready to run, right? Massive opportunity, and you really haven't done nothing over the past really 4 or 5 months, three to 4 months, right? It's just sideways trending, finding buyers. That's about it. And so when we look at something like Dow, which has gone straight up, it's been led by sectors that haven't really been leading the market this whole year, right? XLI, right, which is now pulling back, past few days. XLF, XLV, right? These names are pulling back now. But again, that's what was leading us to the upside here. So when I'm saying this, am I saying that you're perma bullish, you're going crazy? No. But what I am saying is if earnings give you any type of upside here, Google's another big name. Google, you guys know. Google breaks above 168, guys, it's hammer. You hammer it. You go down to your H&R block, you ask for Trevor, and you tell Trevor, we're going in, right? Well, what can I do for you? What can I do for you there, little Timmy? You say, Trevor, all on Googie, right? That's what you like to see here. It's the big opportunities across the board. And I couldn't be more excited headed into this week. So very important. It's also important. You have major Dow names, Caterpillar, Eli Lilly, BP. I mean, I can go a laundry list of these names. So again, very happy and most of all excited about what's going to come in place of this week, right? Monster names we got to be prepared for. Okay, so let's jump into SPY. Let's jump into Qs, give you some levels so you can get out of here and you can also know what to look for this coming week. Now, a few things I'll say is the stair stepping has been good behavior. Now you're bouncing where you need to. In order for me to get bearish, I want to be very clear. You need to break back below 565 on the SPY. Okay, and someone's like, why? Why do you have to break that level, Tyler? Well, let me break it down very simple. That was your previous all-time high in July. When you broke above this level on September 18th, you enter another bullish structure of mounting that level and making new all-time highs. So until you get back below that, you're still in control of buyers since September, in my opinion, right? Now, even right now on this dip that you just had, you are still bouncing. You know, this is from Wednesday. You're bouncing from that previous high that you had here before you made a new all-time high. So you still look really, really good. Still look very, very strong. So above 565, I'm still bullish. Levels I'm watching for support, 577.5 and then 574, 574.5 roughly. QQQ, the Nasdaq. Now, if you are missing this as well, on my personal Twitter, I recommend checking it out. I try to post for you guys more than usual. But what I will say is, you know, I talk about the SPY all day long, Nasdaq, everything I'm looking at in between. Sometimes I'll go into equities. I went into Meta yesterday. I posted this yesterday before market close. I said, you're looking for that push into 174, then possibly even higher. You woke up this morning, God's plan, you're at 575 at open. You ended up running into, I think, 580 plus, even crazier. We traded in Discord this morning. I forgot where we went to. But yeah, so make sure you're paying attention to that. Also, two Discord spots are available. If they're not down below, they're available on Twitter. We'll have a certain amount of spots available, so tap in while you can. And there's obviously, we're doing a chart request, so comment a chart. I might go over it tonight while I'm watching the game. So again, going into Qs, what are we looking for? Now, Qs are a little bit more interesting, and I'm going to go into Nasdaq here in a second. Holding above 493 is very important, okay? That's what I want to see us hold above. If we get below 493, we're basically just back in this range, and we're going to go over that on Nasdaq here in a second. But basically the range below 493, you just pop back into 487, you just pinball back and forth, right? That's kind of how we've moved there a lot on Qs, okay? So again, when we look at Nasdaq, understand, I think you have to pay more attention here. So Nasdaq levels are very, very simple, very easy to understand when you look at something like the 2-hour and higher time frames, okay? And when we look here, number one, you came back into your previous high from October 14th. You made a new high, but you rejected and pushed back down. Past that, you have 20,807, and then basically all-time highs, okay? And so you came back into this, you tried to hold above 20,600, you broke below that, came right back down, into the day back in your range, you know, between 20,500, 20,330, okay? As long as you hold above 20,330, I mean, you're fine. I'm not really worried. Below that, I'm looking for sell side back down on 20,200, possibly even lower if you can get continuation. But what I will say is if you bring this level back, you can see basically since October 9th, you've had, you know, a handful of fake outs to the upside and to the downside. So you got to get a strong confirmation, in my opinion. And what you would like to see for that type of confirmation is continuation, right? So a break, a retest, and continuation on higher time frames, like the 4-hour minimum, like the 4 hour. You got to see a break, a retest, and then continuing in that direction to really start moving. Ideally breaking below whatever that initial bottom was, making a new low and getting that breakdown. You aren't seeing that to the upside either. You break up, you push down, and then you just go back and forth, right? It's like a heart rate, right? That's how you're moving right now. And so understand that. And this goes for both ways. So the upside to the downside, it's what I'm looking for. But I will tell you though, if there's anything that can get us out of the situation and where we're at right now, it is earnings here, right? But understand, AMD and Alphabet could have fantastic earnings on Tuesday. And we could run all day Wednesday. But then Microsoft could miss and Meta can miss and we'll drop back down. So understand, it's not going to be a one day solves all of our problems. Where we'll really get a grasp is going into the end of the day Thursday about where we're at. Now, we'll obviously have great trading sessions, in my opinion, this coming week. That's why I decided to open up Discord, because I think this week's going to be very good. I think we should have volatility all week. This is a day trading week if I've ever seen one. So that's what we're really looking for here, so you understand. So pay attention. Again, it's going to be a good one. I'm excited, right? Maybe I'm putting too much pressure on this week, and it could be a dud, but that's what we're looking at. Now, going into some of the data here as well on this week of what to expect, what we looked at this past week. Now, we know what volume has been uptrending for the past 6 months on the S&P specifically. We look at today, you had better volume back into 40 million, still was decent, even though we dropped back into our range. It was still better. Highest volume was obviously on the 23rd, which was Wednesday, right? But we still were uptrending, so we still had decent volume following that path. And then typically Fridays have been one of our better starts to the week. And it's interesting to see this chart path, because we saw Wednesday and Thursday, we knew we had some downside pressure, followed by Friday, which typically is our bounce back day. And you had your bounce back. I mean, all things considered, you actually ended the day green 0.5%, over 0.5%, which is hilarious to think about. You would have ended the day a lot much better up here at 20,700. You had your bounce back, and that's what we were expecting yesterday. We mentioned in the video, but again, it's just that rejection happening in there again. But hopefully going this week, we get more clarity. Volume should be upticking all week as well headed into this. So make sure you're paying attention. Also, too, I'm probably going to make a video on Sunday where I'll go over more of the earnings and what I'm looking at there. I can do more stuff there. I'll have more information for you as well, going over the dashboard, but I'll make sure that we can go over the earnings and kind of what to expect for you guys. It'll all be here. We'll have a better breakdown over that, but I just don't want to waste too much time today on that. The other big signal, risk on versus risk off. We talked about the dollar yesterday, having our first sign of downside. But again, I said don't claim victory. You need to get back below the 200 SMA. You did not get back below. You started to bounce, actually. You go to the 10-year yield. You look what's happening here. You're bouncing once again off the 200 SMA, right? So mounting, this is not a good sign of what you want to see, right? This is not good. I'll say the 30-year yield. This is something I'm really watching as well, right? You're still in that downtrend. Technically, you want to get below 4% and hold. That's what you want to see, right? Another fake out and bounce back up. We want to see if we can start seeing sellers push us back down in the yields, especially going into November. We know a rate cut is most likely coming, especially with how CPI and PPI and PCE have performed on the inflation data side, which that'll all be coming up very soon. So I'll make sure to post on Twitter for you guys as well. So make sure you're paying close attention there. But again, I want to make something very clear, guys. If you guys are interested, the Discord link is down below. You can tap in every single day. We're going over our trades, what we're looking at, earnings, everything along those lines. We're in live voice chat. But again, I want to make something very clear. We only post what we trade. So if we're not posting, that means we're probably not taking a lot of trades on that day. You get the morning watch list every single day as well. So you know exactly what to look for on each stock. You also get the trading bot as well. So again, if you're wondering, does that tell me exactly what to buy or to sell? No, it does you one even better. You can actually go in, look at our bot, search any stock you want, and it'll show you all of our key levels all day throughout the day. You don't have to wait. It's instantaneous as well. We do have our trading bot coming out very soon, but again, we don't want to rush that, and we don't want to release like an unfinished product, but tap in. The link is down below, and you get text alerts when you sign up, so make sure you tap in. That's what we're going to be going over this week. The last final things, guys. Again, what you really want to see for some bounce back on the market, right? The Nasdaq, even though we pulled back, I think you look halfway decent. And another thing I want to point out here is if you get rid of everything and you just look at the daily time frame, like you look good. Like I'm gonna tell you, you don't look bad. Okay, you don't look bad at all. I want to make this very, very clear. This is a decent looking chart. You're clearly flagging, trying to break out of this, right? You're trying to either get a failed breakout on the day. Higher time frames, in my opinion, look amazing. And sometimes that's what people need to do. You need to zoom out. I see everyone talking about the daily candle here on ES, and I get it. But why is no one talking about these weekly candles that are printing right now? Because honestly, they're kind of incredible, all things considered. Like the ES candle here, little grotesque. You go into something like what's happening on the Nasdaq, and you go into something like NVDA, you have a better overall view of what's happening. You're trying to push up more indecision what's happening there. Look at NVIDIA's weekly candle. Like everyone's freaking out. Like NVIDIA's weekly candle doesn't look bad. Looks like it's trying to absolutely explode, right? So we need to understand what's happening there with semiconductors, broad-base the entire market, where you're at, and overall how you're moving. Things look a lot different when you take a step back and you're not, right in front of the chart looking at what's happening every 2-3 minutes, right? You have to understand the underlying trend before you start to try to trade every 5 to 6 minutes in the market as well. If you understand the trend, it's going to make everything a lot easier for you. So again, stop making everything harder for yourself. Take a step back, understand where you're at, how you're moving, and then work from there. I'll see you guys either tomorrow or Sunday. Have a good one, traders.